That's preparewithmojo50.com.
All right, we're here. Good evening, everyone. Watching everybody come in.
My wife Jennifer and I were listening because I'm subscribed to your channel. I immediately knew
Do what?
I was going to rip you off.
Oh.
I want a big movie voice intro for American
All
Idol.
right. All the stations are connected. Linda, how are you?
Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah,
Hey, Miss Linda. What's going on, girl?
What the hell is wrong with me?
How is it possible? Scientists struggle to find the answer.
Come on. I don't think Linda's ever missed the show.
I don't think she has either. 90 seconds.
I really like hockey, but then I found out there's so many hockey teams that are American.
Share the show, folks. Share it.
We are gonna get.
Got a fantastic guest
Oh
tonight.
man, we're gonna go deep into the.
Hey, Sandy.
Get yourself the very best in betting supply.
What up, Sandy Goki?
Deserve it.
I know another guy named Goki. His name is Jason. I'm a little worried about him. You know, I got some concerns. I was gonna call some lady named Sandy and talk about the concerns I have with Jason. You know. Kathy in the Berg. What up, brother Becker? Mary Mansfield.
Have you ever thought of winterizing your vagina?
Linda says already done right. Miss Dixie. What's going-
45 seconds.
Miss Dixie, by the way, super sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
What a tragedy.
SoCal, 'cause she's bitching right now. We don't need to hear it.
I'm so really sorry about
Dog
that.
was too young.
To Mojo 50
Too young.
Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and here
Sometimes
at
I'm more
the
sad when a
Ricksecker.
dog dies.
Just a warning. There's so much goodness.
that bad?
it's
All right, guys.
sometimes
Show starts in 20 seconds.
20
We'll be
hug.
right back.
It literally feels like someone rips my heart out of my chest. But I promise you, you will see that the world is inherently good. And don't ever let the world get you down. You just say, damn it, and move on. That's Damn It with Beaver, Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Mojo 50 Radio.
Journey into the matrix of the mind. Stretch your imagination and challenge reality. Abnormal realities are beacons for the imagination. What society deems abnormal may be more real than we think. This is Abnormal Realities with your hosts, Ron Phillips and Rocky Stucci.
Well, you know, okay, I am. I thought I was on mute there for a second. I panicked a little bit. I was looking over at your finger. I got a little kind of discombobulated, but we're back, folks. Hey, welcome to the program. It is Wednesday night right here. Abnormal Realities. Do not forget, look us up on iHeartRadio, on Odyssey Radio by searching ODYSY Radio, and of course, OdysseyRadio.com. We're adding shows to the lineup all the time, so get on over there. Make sure you're checking it out, abnormalrealities.com, and of course, the mothership, which is OdysseyRadio.com. Brother,
That's right. Yeah, we get
Filipio.
to give our sponsors out real quick.
Yes, we are.
RomikaDesigns.com. Go out and check out their stuff. They've got a few more days before Mother's Day, before we have to end the orders for Mother's Day. So get out there.
Wait, what's-
RomikaDesigns.com.
Mother's Day?
Yeah, May the 8th.
Shit.
Let me guess, you forgot.
No.
Yeah, see, now you know.
I'm
now
prepared.
you know. And InsaneCustomTumblers.com. Did your son roll out a new website?
Yep.
Did he build it?
Well, Lisa helped.
Okay.
But yeah, he's adding all these soft baits.
That would be Wayfinder Lures.
Yep,
He's
Wayfinder
added,
Lures.
Yeah, he's added a lot of new stuff.
He has
to
a
it.
discount page. There's a bunch of stuff going on with him, and he has new lines of product that he's been working on. I got home today and I took pictures. He won't let me post them because it's top secret. But wayfinderlures.com. Get on over there, give the kids some love and support. But Brother Phillips, we are going deep into the rabbit hole tonight. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, folks, you saw my description tonight. We're talking shadow people tonight.
Yeah,
with our guest, Mike Ricksecker. He's the author of the Amazon best-selling book called A Walk in the Shadows, A Complete Guide to Shadow People. He's also got other historic books out there, paranormal books. So we're going to let him talk about that in a little bit. We're also going to show the trailer for his series called, let's see, what's the series called, Mike? It is called Shadow Dimension. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Please join us, though, in welcoming Mike Ricksecker to the show. Mike, welcome, buddy. How are you?
Thanks so much for having me tonight, guys. Really appreciate it.
Boy, I got to tell you something. I'm just going to start out, kick this right off. I got to tell you how sexy your microphone is. I'm just saying for the record. Let's just get it on the table now before we start.
He's got to get all that radio guy stuff out of the way first. So
There's a level of pride you have when you get a new mic and you tune it up and you plug it in and then you listen back and you're like, damn, I sound sexy as hell right now. You know, there's something about it. It's an experience.
He listened to it.
He said, yeah. Well, welcome to the program, brother. Grateful to have you. We were talking before the show, ladies and gentlemen, and Mike and I have some mutual friends, so that automatically tells me that we're going to have some amazing conversations because these are very intellectual minds. And that's one thing that I appreciate about a lot of the guests that are coming on this program is that, man, they are putting their time in, and it's not just hogwash. It's real research. It's real work. It's real video. It's real audio. It's real radio. It's real documentaries. And the work that is entailed in this type of stuff is not for the faint of heart. There's more post-production and pre-production and ideas and moving and traveling and there's so much to it. When somebody's committed like that and they go through and they do what they do, you know that they're loyal to the conversations that they talk about. So, brother, man, where did it begin? What got you to wake up one day and say, you know what, I need to share experiences. I need to talk about this. I want to educate people. Did you have a significant experience that triggered this?
Yeah, in fact, I did wake up one night, and I was about 8 years old, and standing in the corner of my bedroom was this tall, dark figure. Of course, I didn't know anything about shadow entities, shadow people, anything like that at that time. I just thought there was an intruder in the house, and he was about to kill me, because that's about what you think at the age of 8. Right. You know, I'd seen enough TV, movies, all that. I figured I had enough time to gasp, and I was going to be a goner. But fortunately, I'm still alive to tell the tale, which is great. But it did get physical with me, which is really interesting.
What?
Yeah, so I'm laying in bed. I'm trying to scream because, you know, somebody's in the room.
Yeah.
Nothing's coming out of my mouth because I'm just too terrified. This thing approaches the bed, leans over. I'm staring up into this blank black face. There's no eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. And it suddenly takes me by the wrists, crosses my arms across my body, and then runs off down the hall. By that point, I found my voice, found my legs, ran off to my parents' bedroom screaming. They're trying to calm me down, console me, trying to tell me that I just had a bad dream.
Yep.
But I'd been awake for this whole thing. Fast forward a few years. Now, that house I would never say was a haunted house. It was just a one-off. We're moving. I'm 13 years old. I'm in another house now, unpacking boxes, putting things away. And I kept seeing this shadowy figure near my bedroom doorway. It looked like a person. And I'd turn and look, and off it would go. It'd go running off down the hall, more toward my parents' bedroom. This happened several times over the course of a few days where I'm unpacking things, putting things away, and I'd see this figure standing in the doorway, and I'd turn and look, and he'd run off. So I decided to ask my mom about this, you know, if she had seen something similar. And surprise, surprise, she says that she had also seen this. Maybe she thought I was a little bit more mature being 13 years old, but you know, what 13-year-olds are really mature? I don't know. But you know, it was great because, you know, for one, it was an affirmation that, okay, I was not crazy. Mom was seeing this thing too. And she also didn't seem too alarmed about it. She was just like, yeah, I've seen that. And so I was like, okay, Mom's not scared of this thing.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I got playful with this thing. I started calling him Tom, like Peeping Tom. And so anytime I'd see him, I'd say, hey, Tom, and off he'd go running. But so this one was different than that first shadow incident that I had. This one was like more translucent, very, very fast, didn't stick around, where the other one, it was more solid, had a lot of mass to it, got physical with me.
And Mike, were these adult size figures, or were they child size?
Yeah. They were adult size figures. They,
okay. All right.
Yeah, both of them, I mean, to approximate a height, I don't know, somewhere between 5'10", 6 foot, if you want to put it that way. I mean, both times I would have been smaller than these things.
Okay.
So the incident that really kind of set me off and let me know that this was going to be the path that I was going to go down. For one, I'd already been writing. I'd been doing that since I was 7 years old. So that's always been a part of my lifeblood. But when I was 15 years old, my friend David and I were at our friend Lori's house. It's a historic older home downtown in the small town that we were at. And we're just, you know, we're kids. We're shooting the breeze, talking teen drama, all that sort of thing. And all of a sudden, Lori says, I think my house is haunted. David and I are like, oh, this is cool. What's the story?
Yep.
So, yeah. So she starts telling some stories about things that are going on in the house. She starts talking about the old family cemetery that's out in the backyard, that sort of thing. Her main concern is her bedroom, where there's this one wall in her room where she can't keep anything tacked up on it. So, she's trying to hang posters and things like that, but it'd be like an hour, a day, a week later, it would always fall down. She can't keep it tacked up there. So we're going to go investigate. We're going to go check it out. So we go upstairs. We're looking around the room. Lori's telling us more stories. And I didn't know this about David at that time, but he was an extremely sensitive guy. He put his hand flat to the wall like that. And all of a sudden, he turned this bright red, started sweating profusely. I'm looking at David like, oh my God, what the heck's going on with my friend?
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like this before. So he starts going like wall to wall in the house to try to find any more kind of quote unquote hot spots. And I'm looking at him, I'm looking at the wall. And it was like that moment that I knew, wow, this is truly fascinating. Some way, shape, or form, I was going to be involved with this phenomenon the rest of my life.
How did it register? Because I know, when you hear about different people having different experiences. Now, the first time, I'm going to separate the very first experience you had, because that is alone will freak anybody out, that you feel that physical touch of somebody crossing you. When you started seeing this to where you were becoming acceptable, you started naming it, and it raised like a comfort level. Now, do you believe when you started naming this, Tom, that there may have been more of an energetic connection? Do you still experience, Tom? Can you establish a relationship with something like that?
I certainly believe that you can establish a relationship with these different entities. With Tom, he was only there about 3 or 4 months and he went away. So I kind of chalked up that activity to something that was there at the house, was curious about us, the new family, deemed we were okay, and it went about its business. But I believe that you can definitely develop a relationship with a lot of these different types of entities. A lot of times when we go and we investigate some sort of location, we're dealing with human spirits, and you go back often enough, you can really start to develop a relationship with these beings that, you get to learn them a little bit. You get to, have these conversations, and the more and more you go back, you start getting more responses.
Are there different types of entities, Tom? Like, do they all have different characteristics, like the first one you saw versus the second one? I mean, I know you said one was a little translucent more than the other.
Yeah. With Tom, he was definitely more translucent. He would be more of kind of the wispy type of shadow entity that we find sometimes. Some of those wisps are like, even more translucent than Tom, and you can barely even get a visage of them, and they're very fast. So, yeah, I mean, you have what we call the humanoid figure, which is certainly that first one that I saw. You have the Hat Man, you have hooded figures, you have crawlers, mists, wisps, all these different types of things that, we relate as shadow phenomena, but they're all very different from each other.
Okay, now, so when we talk about like ETs, we say that there's different species of ETs. Now, when we're sitting here talking about like the crawlers and the hats, the semi-translucent, the very detailed shadow person, are these different levels of entities? Are these darker? Or they have different sources of power? Are they able to move things more poltergeist style? What's the difference in the different types of shadow people when it comes to what is it, right?
Yeah, you used a great word there, different species. And Mark Anthony, he's known as the psychic explorer, psychic lawyer, he has a great quote in the Shadow Dimension docuseries where he says that he believes that we're dealing with several different species of entities that are using a similar energetic modality to enter our dimension. And that would be the shadow form. But they all come off a little bit differently because they are a different species where, hat entities are different than, hooded figures are different than, the crawlers. They have very, very different characteristics. They seem to have different agendas. Some are benevolent, some are malevolent, and most are really rather benign. They're more of the watching, observing kind and just don't really partake. A lot of people think that, like all shadow entities are, evil and dark and malevolent. And
I did.
Which isn't really
I
the
have
case.
to admit, I think that's what I thought up until you said that just now. that they're all malevolent, until you mentioned earlier that you just kind of played with that one, and I'm thinking to myself, what I think paralyzed comes to mind when I think of seeing a shadow figure, but I would have thought they were all evil, and maybe it's the black that's making me think that. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and that's certainly human nature. We see something dark, we see something we don't understand. A lot of times it seems to show up at night. That can happen during the day too, but and a lot of times it's in a the cases which they show up. It's more of like there's some sort of intruder in the house. Somebody that's not welcome. So that immediately puts us on guard. So I think that's what happens in a lot of these cases. Plus, there are those cases that are when they are malevolent, they are up to no good and doing nefarious things that, you hear about those type of incidents. And so it's like, okay, it was this shadowy form. It did these different things, and all of a sudden you see one. It might just be standing there looking at you, not doing a thing, but you're going to become alarmed. So, but yeah, you hear on occasion some stories where they actually do things to help people. And also, some of these are actually human spirits that can't fully manifest as an apparition. So, somebody's grandma or Aunt Trudy or whatever, they're not malevolent. They're just showing as a shadow because they can't fully form.
I'll be like, freaking Aunt Trudy, come on, just work a little freaking harder. You know what I'm saying? So I want to get onto the Conjuring House really quick. I saw it and I kind of froze for a second, but I got just a quick question in regards to, for better terms, the species of shadow figures. Have any of them, all of them, some of them been human form, or do you believe a lot of them or most of them are non-human and never been human? Well, obviously, if one is the outline of a body, I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Right. I think a kind of quote unquote true shadow person is some sort of interdimensional being that's not from our plane of existence. It's coming from elsewhere. But yeah, you do have these shadow forms that are, they're human spirits, and we're seeing them in some sort of guise. Now, I've seen rolling black smoke morph into the apparition of a little girl. So that was kind of what really hit it home for me, that because way back in the day, like you, Ron, I didn't believe that shadows were human spirits. They were all kind of more dark in nature, that sort of thing. And human spirits were their own thing. They weren't one and the same. And then over the years, just talking with a lot of different people, there were some of these stories that were coming out like, no, I believe it was this person or that person. My good friend Rob Guttrow years ago told me this story about his aunt that appeared to him as a shadow form because she expended all of her energy just getting to him, but wanted him to deliver a message for her to his mother. And I trust Rob with my life. He's a psychic medium, does a lot with pet communication and things like that. So it's like, I trust Rob. So it's like, finally, okay, I'm starting to believe this. But then I finally saw it with my own eyes some years ago, where we're at the Mineral Springs Hotel. We're doing a paranormal investigation, the top floor. We're doing an EVP session in the one corner room. We're hearing these noises come from down the hall. So we go out there, take a look, and here comes this black smoke rolling down the hall. It's doing this really strange thing where it's kind of creeping up the one side of the hallway, on the right-hand side of the hall. It would creep back down and creep back up. All the while, it's coming closer and closer. And finally, one of these times where it creeps up that wall on the right-hand side, it formed into the apparition of this little girl. We're trying to get her to come closer and closer. She only went so far as this one door, where there were legends and stories from that hotel of this little girl being inside that room and hanging out there, looking through the window, looking like she had lost somebody or was waiting for somebody. And here we were seeing her. 5 of us saw her, which was fascinating.
I was at the Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota, and there's this phenomena down in the basement that it's not a shadow, right? But there's and I don't want to call it a cloud, brother, because it's not a cloud, but it's just darkness that just comes down, and it literally goes down like almost to your knee area.
Is it like the room started getting darker? Is
it's like there's a liquid smoke or I don't know, because it makes darker, right? And so it's one of those things where it's like, I got to see it to believe it in order for me to believe it. It sounds cool, but and we were doing an investigation one night, and that actually happened. Everybody started freaking out because, brother, we saw like something. I don't know what it was, but it came down and it made darkness completely dark. Now, would that be more of an energy? Would that be a type of entity, or what would that be?
Yeah, so that's something we would classify it as the mist type of shadow entity, kind of black cloud, rolling black smoke, that sort of thing, or kind of comes down like a veil, like you're describing.
Yep.
It's hard to know if these things have some sort of intelligence behind them, or if they are just an energy. Now we saw, rolling black smoke morph into the apparition of a little girl. So that one there, fine, little girl. We saw it at, it was the house that we investigated for the show The Haunted way back in the day, like 11 years ago. And she was seen in her bedroom in the closet. It was the adult daughter of the house. This dark shadow entity with red eyes. We never saw that. But the one evening when we were doing an investigation in her bedroom, we saw that black cloud-like smoke in her room. It's kind of, it was there. Actually, the cat discovered it. The cat picked up on it, went to the door, stopped right in the doorway, and we're following the cat because she had gotten kind of skittish. And then once she saw it, she took off, and we're standing there observing it, and it dissipated away. But the question was always, well, was it trying to form into the entity with red eyes? Had it been the entity with red eyes, and now it was like dissipating away? It was just the energy from it. We don't know.
Well, we got about 4 minutes?
Yeah, about 4 minutes.
All right. So without getting really super deep in it, because we can carry over, I know we got a little reel we want to play. But when we're kind of going over some pre-show prep, I noticed you've done some work at the Conjuring House.
Yeah.
Give us a quick breakdown on that.
Yeah, Conjuring House. There's a lot of activity that goes on there, and one of the stories that I keyed in on from that was the black smoke that Carl Johnson saw during his first visit back in 1973. This was before the Warrens even got involved.
Yeah, Carl Johnson was the first one to ever investigate that location, right?
Yeah, it was their team. What was Pyro was the name of the team. He, Keith, and a couple of others. And they were just young. They were, in college back at the time. And it's an interesting story because they say that they got a call from Carolyn Perrin to come out to the house because of the activity that was going on there. And they showed up on their front lawn one day. Right. Hey, we understand your house is haunted. Carolyn insists she never actually called them. But somehow they got this call. And once they did their investigation there, that's where they reached out to the Warrens and got them involved. So, yeah, they were the first team to actually investigate there. And that was on that first day. That was when they saw that black smoke, or Carl did in any case. But Andrea had actually stated, and she talks about it in the Shadow Dimension, about how she had also seen that black smoke there, too. So it wasn't just Carl who's seen it. It's something that happens there quite often.
Has there ever been any type of like
geological?
Yes, type of work done in that area? Because I thought that for the Palmer House when that was happening, and you said it about the intelligence. Is it intelligent? Could it not be? Could it just be a phenomena? Because I've always wondered about that location, the Conjuring location, because I was kind of infatuated with that location for a while. When you find locations like this and the historical relevance and the amount of stories, it's so, it becomes real. It's not just a story. It's just not just a Hollywood story. Is that something that is land-based? Is it the area? Is it the home?
Yeah, I think part of it is land-based. You're talking about Native American lands, very old land. You've had people living there for centuries, even, English have been there for centuries. So you have a lot of history that goes along with that area. But there's also something specific to the house as well. And I think it has to do with in the basement, there's a room called the well room, which to this day, there's an open well there with water in it. That's exposed. And the room that it's in is made of limestone capped with granite blocks. So you're talking like a perfect little power plant that can really, really charge a household like that. And a lot of the activity that happens within the house, and it happens all throughout the house, but some of the more significant incidents happen straight up from that well room.
We were talking about the well room in the slaughterhouse at Bobby Mackey's in Kentucky last night on the show. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself now, there's a lot of places that's got wells that have a lot of activity with them, it sounds like. So
I wonder if the wells are some kind of a charge, because I was telling them, like, lots of times, like, they're in power plants, rivers, old river towns. You know, you look at where you have a lot of these significant hauntings, and then you try to look around to see, could there be something amplifying it? It could have, you know, you just don't know. You know, you're just trying to understand things. But
Without a doubt.
Well, I mean, water's a conductor of electricity.
Yep.
I was mentioned Mineral Springs Hotel earlier, which is Alton, Illinois. So you have, the well that's there in the building at the basement. We have the Mississippi River right outside, and they have limestone bluffs behind it. And so that whole little town is just supercharged with paranormal activity.
Could you imagine what Chernobyl would be like, going and investigating Chernobyl?
Me? Mike, bear with us for a second. We've got to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about shadow dimensions. We're going to show you that trailer. So bear with us. We'll be right back with you, sir. OdysyRadio.com, folks. That's where you can find all of the shows. We've got several new shows out there. We want you to go out and check those out. Mike's show, we'll talk about that in the second half hour. His show is over at KGRA, and he's got a show over there that he does. I think he's still doing it, he said. I think the name has changed. But OdysyRadio.com, go check it out. And we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
If you look in the show description, all the links are right there. And we're going to Chernobyl. Screw it, we're going.
I want to go to Chernobyl. I'm in. We'll be right back, guys.
What?
At Romika Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logoed designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Romika Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion, or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at romikadesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@romikadesigns.com, or visit us on the web at romikadesigns.com.
Abnormal realities.
All right. Effective radiation on testicles between 1963 and 1973, which was the year I was born. Dozens of Washington and Oregon prison inmates were used as test subjects in an experiment designed to test the effects of radiation on testicles. In most cases, subjects were zapped with over 400 rads of radiation, which is the equivalent of 2,400 chest x-rays.
They were zapped with over 400 rads in their nads. Right there.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. I got chills.
It just came to me right there.
Rads in the nads. Rads in the nads, baby. Come on. What?
I couldn't help myself.
It registered in Ron, and you saw him go with it.
Abnormal realities.
Sometimes I scare myself. I'm so good.
With Ron and Rocky. 8 p.m. Eastern. Mojo 50.
Welcome back to Abnormal Realities, folks. I'm Ron Phillips. That's Rocky Stucci.
How you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing? I am just elated. Not belated.
Elated. Because
Ron Phillips had a major brain exhaust come out his ear holes when we were going out, and he completely
I lost complete track of what I was talking about.
I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? His show, you got it all messed up.
I get it all messed up. Mike, welcome back. We've got Mike Ricksecker with us tonight. Mike, help me out. You still do a show over there, right? It's just not the one that we thought. Okay, that's what I thought.
Right. I was doing 2 shows over at KGRA. The one that I'd been doing for 6 years, not just on KGRA, last 2 years on KGRA, which was Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We shut that down here after its 6-year run. I just have too many other projects and work that's going on. The one that is still there is Connecting the Universe, and that's been there for, I think, about a year now. And that is actually the audio version of my online class that I do Wednesday nights. So, but that'll air Saturdays on KGRA.
Fantastic. We're going to talk about
that class really quick.
Classes,
is that Connected Universe
Portal.com?
Yes, ConnectedUniversePortal.com. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. ConnectedUniversePortal.com, folks, if you want to go out there and check that out after the show, please. But he's got some other stuff that we're going to talk about as we get closer to the end of the show. But Mike, I want to talk about your Shadow Dimension series, because we've got this trailer we want to show, but kind of explain what that is.
Yeah, so Shadow Dimension is a deep dive into the world of shadows, going to locations that have reported shadow activity, as well as other supernatural phenomena, trying to focus a lot on, portal activity and interdimensional travel. So, going to the Conjuring House, where you have reports of time slips, Andrea and Carolyn Perrin actually witnessing these apparitions that turned and looked at them as if Carolyn and Andrea were the ghosts. And I mean, that's a time slip right there. So you have a lot of this type of activity there at that location, along with the shadow. So we were trying to see if there's some sort of relationship between those. And when we filmed this, had a lot more locations that I was interested in getting out to be able to do this, but we were filming during COVID. So the two that we got to
makes it a little
Conjuring
difficult.
House, Mineral Springs. Yeah.
Those are good ones.
Those are good ones.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Mike, we're going to show this trailer. This is Shadow Dimension trailer for Mike's series, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more after we get back.
There's a kind of a hallway connecting the bedrooms. Coming down that hall was something, I want to say black, but it was more like the absence of vision, something dark. My first thought was there's a fire in the house and I'm going to smell smoke. It was somewhat rolling towards me, but formless, just darkness. It's somebody had erased reality.
Thank you. I have to sit down for a minute.
You okay?
Here, can you take the camera from me?
Yes, certainly. What's the matter, Mike? Something over here, I don't know.
I just think it's getting darker in here.
I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and there was this tall, dark figure standing in the corner of my room.
What is this? Who are they? I tend to think they're from another dimensional space.
I call it a gravitational distortion.
Nope. Look at that. Whoa. Pointing right at the hole.
It's all right over here.
That's right. This is where the energy is.
I think this is kind of an opening to another reality.
So you can see all these connections that are interwoven.
I have frequently described as a portal cleverly disguised as a farmhouse.
That's the bedroom in which I had the experience when I was about 8 years old.
Amare Ea Glesforgan.
It had red, glowing eyes.
And that smoke came forth, something in my face walking in here.
I think something's happening here.
Shadow Dimension. Mike, if people go to is it shadowdimension.com? Yeah, shadowdimension.com.
Yeah, shadowdimension.com. You can watch it free on Tubi TV right now. So you just load that up on your smart TV or computer or device. Filmsy is a new one that picked it up here recently too, and some other platforms. It'll be coming out here very soon.
So, brother, what was when you were at the Conjuring House and you were in the room and you had to sit down? What were you experiencing at that time?
Yeah, I got suddenly very, very lightheaded. It felt like I was about to pass out, and I'm like holding the camera, trying to interview Keith, and I'm like everything I can to hold myself together to finish what Keith was saying, so I could get that clip. And once he finished the story, I'm like, Keith, take the camera. I need to sit down. So, I collected myself, and I was still feeling it there for several minutes afterward. But yeah, it was just like some energy just coming over me. I was about to pass out. It felt like. It almost felt like a heat stroke. I kind of show a little bit of that when, an incident that I had back when I was in the Air Force, where I almost passed out while in formation. It kind of felt like that.
First and foremost, thank you for your service. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it. I think we have an Air Force guy here too.
You do?
Awesome. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours. Yeah, I was I was in from 84 to 92. I did not go the full 20. So
I was 92 to 98.
And he yelled at people.
I did. I spent some time as an MTI. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
I want that job.
That was in my younger days when I could march, 20 miles a day. Oh, yes, sir. Spent 3 years there, just one tour. So
we go a whole nother hour on this. I'm sure there's some good stories we can talk about.
When you talk to people who are Air Force veterans, the one person they remember in their entire life is their TI.
Mike, I just want you to notice
Sergeant LaBruda. I still remember him to this day. Yep.
Yeah.
See, you're right.
What squadron were you in, Mike? Do you remember? 37. I was 3703rd.
Okay, it was 3756.
Something, yeah.
Ron glows every time these conversations happen. He's literally glowing. I can feel the power.
Stop, dude, really.
No, it's all right, brother. It's all good. All right, the Alaskan Triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, brother, we tried it once. You know what I mean? We tried talking about it on the show, pulled up a couple articles and thought we were going to sound super smart. We destroyed it.
We did not.
Then we had another guy come on the program, and then we were supposed to talk about it, but then we started talking about, I can't even remember, something completely not relevant to what we were supposed to talk about. So when I saw that you do research into this, it was a relief because we can finally get to this conversation that only taken us about 7 months to do. So, what is the comparison? Because most people know the Bermuda Triangle, but we have the Alaskan Triangle. So is there similarities in effect, or what's the difference in the two?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. My latest book here, Alaska's Mysterious Triangle, just came out a few months ago, and I've been very proud of that. I was on the Alaska Triangle television show as well. But yeah, basically it's, and people refer to the Alaska Triangle as Alaska's Bermuda Triangle. And I think people don't realize that there are these other locations in the world that have very similar properties to the Bermuda Triangle. And we have actually the Dragon Triangle out there in Japan. There's Lake Michigan Triangle, the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts. So a lot of these different locations around the globe that have very similar phenomena, whether it's you have the missing airplanes and ships. You have these strange cryptid and UFO sightings, paranormal activity, all these different things going on. And it's centralized around the electromagnetism in the area. So, with triangle areas, you have that very significant vortex energy that's welling up from the Earth's magnetic core, as it's passing through, the metals and minerals and things like that in the ground. Depending on what's there, it kind of supercharges that electromagnetism, and that's what's going on here in these triangle areas.
When you got that supercharge, does that increase two different things? Does that increase weather condition, and does it increase like more terrestrial sightings, more terrestrial type of activity in that area?
Yeah, you see a lot more of the ET sightings around these sorts of areas. So, Bermuda Triangle, Alaska Triangle, they have a lot of UFO sightings. As far as the weather, that's another thing that, tends to pop up in these different areas is, the storms that kick up, like Flight 19 in the Bermuda Triangle. They had first, it was the compasses going crazy from the electromagnetism, and then all of a sudden a storm kicked up out of nowhere. And that's really what ended them. When you look at the Dragon Triangle, way back in the day, 13th century, Kublai Khan, who was the grandson of Genghis Khan, twice he tries to invade Japan going through the Dragon Triangle, and both times these typhoons kicked up and destroyed his fleet.
Wow.
Just bizarre stuff.
It's not the way you want to lose your boys.
No, it's not. No, not at all.
That's interesting. It's weird though when you mentioned that about the plane in the Bermuda Triangle, how the compasses first went.
Yeah.
Because I've never done a lot of research in regards to it. I hear it and I'm fascinated by it, but the compasses go all out of whack, and all of a sudden there's a major storm. So is there something maybe dimensional that's changing atmospherically right there, and just mass produces something out of I don't want to say out of nowhere, but these storms seem to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's one of the things that can happen. People also, report, well, like Bruce Gernon in the Bermuda Triangle, he had gone through what he calls an electronic fog. So it seemed like a storm that had kicked up. He passes through like this portal thing and basically goes 100 miles within 3 minutes. With the Alaska Triangle,
wow,
yeah, it was crazy. With the Alaska Triangle, there have been several missing planes there, just completely disappeared, never found again. One of them, 1950 Douglas Skymaster, huge plane. It was actually a very nice day. There weren't any storms that kicked up, but they just suddenly lost contact with this thing as it was crossing into Yukon territory. And a lot of people believe that what had happened was it passed through an interdimensional portal that was spawned by the Alaska Triangle. So you have a lot of this strange type of phenomenon like that there.
You know what's interesting is a lot of these lost cities that they find in really weird parts of the ocean, and then you think back, it's like, when was the ocean this low to allow this city to exist?
Yeah.
I mean, I have never really researched that. Do you notice a difference, like connections, ancient civilizations, ancient anything,
cultures,
right? Within that area, is there more there, and is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have a lot of these different, ancient cultures that are around. When it comes to the Bermuda Triangle, the Bimini Road is there now. People think that this, could be Atlantis. We don't know for sure. Geologists try to say that it's natural formation, but you look at it, and it's like, that looks like a wall. And there are ancient maps though that show an island there with that formation on there. So I would say it's certainly something man-made, that there is a civilization that was there. You look at other parts of the world, and back during the Ice Age, the water levels were a lot lower. They were in forms of these ice sheets. So there's a lot hidden under our oceans these days that are just left there for us to discover.
That's interesting about the Ice Age thing.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say something about Atlantis. What is the reasoning why some science wants to discount the fact that that could be possible evidence of human civilization, intelligent civilization? Why do certain sciences try to debunk that when it's pretty obvious sometimes for what it is, right?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I can't speak, for the scientists and, why they debunk it. I guess they want, more tangible, significant proof. But you look at Plato's story and you follow the history of it, and it's pretty evident that something significant happened back in that time. Now, I don't think Atlantis was just like one specific city. I think it was an entire worldwide culture that had many cities, around the world. And you look at ancient cultures throughout the entire world, they always talk about the flood. Every culture talks about the flood. The flood happened. We know it happened. And while they don't always find the archaeological evidence to back it up, it's in everybody's story. So how does it get into everybody's story if it didn't happen? It happened. So then the question becomes: is the flood what wiped out Atlantis? Is that what caused civilizations to scatter and reform elsewhere? You look at Egypt, and the culture that developed there, dynastic Egypt, doesn't really appear to be the civilization that built some of these things, like the pyramids or the Osirian and some of these other buildings. It seems more like there were people, perhaps survivors of Atlantis, that came in, saw these buildings that were now unoccupied by the previous inhabitants and those who actually built them. Okay, then we're going to come over and we're going to now utilize those. So there's a lot of history that's been lost to time that we've pieced together incorrectly over the years.
It bothers me because sometimes, like, people like you and me and Ron and so many people that are listening, all we literally want is the truth. And if it's going to rewrite some of our history, if it's going to alter some of what happened in the past, I'm okay with that, right? Because how are we truly going to understand our evolution if we truly don't know our own roots,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Like some of we were talking about John Ward, there's things he found at his site that changed history. And that's a beautiful thing. It's helping us understand, you know what I mean? But then you hear of this over here, And it's like, let's not talk about that. And then I start wondering, and then I go down the conspiracy road, is what are they trying to cover up? What part of history are they manipulate? You get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand that. Part of it, I will say this, part of it is, they're trying to protect themselves. So, they may have, their books that they've written. They have funding that comes in from different organizations. Yep. So if they start bucking the trend and going against the grain, they're going to lose their funding. Their books are now out of style, this sort of thing. So a lot of guys are rather content just to, I know better, but, my lifestyle is going to drastically change if I print this. So I'm not going to for now, which is really unfortunate because it's those guys that need to step up and say something because they're the ones that end up in those, peer-reviewed scientific journals and all that, the general community will say, well, there's your smart scientist with these, published papers. And we who come out with, books like, Alaska's Mysterious Triangle and all that, people chalk it up as pseudoscience because I'm not, an actual scientist, but, I think I'm a smart guy, and having kind of pulling back from one specific field, I'm able to look at everything and make the connections and piece things together. So I might not have my degrees in computers, I might not have a degree in geology or archaeology or whatever, but I can piece some things together just as well as the next guy.
I never been the you have to have the specific degree to have relevance in your opinion type of guy.
You just have to have an interest in learning. You have to have an interest in researching.
People devote their lives to subjects.
Absolutely.
They don't have degrees. They devote their life. There's some people that have put more time, research, and work into, let's say, archaeological type of research than half the archaeologists that are out there with the little shovel and a sweep. You cannot discredit somebody's hard work in that field. And you know what? If it's going to challenge a narrative, then that's what science is for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at guys like Graham Hancock. Now, he's a journalist by trade. He's written a boatload of books that are super thick. Has a very, very keen interest in all of this different phenomena in world history. And he's pieced together a lot of fantastic information, but people still criticize him because by trade he's a journalist.
Yeah, he gets hammered sometimes.
So, Mike, let's segue into the connected universe real quick. Tell our viewers and listeners about the connected universe, what the site's about, and what kind of stuff you're teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Connected Universe Portals online learning platform. I have a few different courses out there right now. One that's specifically an online course on shadow entities. I have another on ancient Egypt, which has over 12 hours of footage on Egypt, whether it's conversation that we had like a specific class, or I was in Egypt last year and there's a boatload of footage going into the temples, going into the pyramids. It's fascinating stuff. But then we have a membership side in which you get weekly online classes. We talk about a variety of different subjects, and that ends up as an audio later for Connecting the Universe KGRA. But during the class, you get the full presentation, all the videos, the slideshow, all that stuff. We also have like monthly Q&A videos, behind the scenes videos, sneak peeks. There's all kinds of articles and all sorts of things on the back end of that. So really encourage people to come out. There's a lot of great information out there.
So is there information that's not behind the members site?
Yeah. There's a blog that people can go and take a look at all that information there. 30-day free trial if people want to just take a peek and try it out for a month.
Hell, I might just do that.
I'm telling you, when you offer something like that, that's confidence in your work. So that means that there's some really good relevant stuff. So man, good on you for doing that. That's awesome.
And it's a lot of hard work, a lot of research, a lot of important information that people who like this kind of stuff, like myself, would probably benefit from. So yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to go out there and
Stargates and Portals.
Stargates and Portals is
Ron wanted
Stargates, Portals. I just did a blog article on parallel universes because we were just talking about the credibility and it has to be scientists and all that stuff. So a couple years ago, you saw more of the tabloid-esque type of news sites. Like the New York Post and what have you, this idea of a parallel universe running in reverse time, that these experiments down in Antarctica, like the Anita Project, Ice Cube Project, were proving this. They got completely discredited. You had guys like some journalists on Forbes and these other more elite sites that were slamming them for printing this. But yet now, just this January, there is a peer-reviewed scientific paper that has been published in which they said, well, yeah, there's actually something to this, these experiments down in Antarctica that are showing a parallel universe running in reverse time. And now they're like, oh, here it is. It's like, wait a second. These guys a couple of years ago were talking this, and you slammed them then, and now you're saying it's okay. It's
reverse time.
It's running reverse time.
How does that work?
Ask him. I don't know.
Explain that.
The idea is that when the Big Bang happened and exploded, we had our universe that was generated, it running in the time that we're familiar with.
Right.
Well, every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
So that opposite is another universe, which is running in reverse time.
So they're working towards the Big Bang.
Wait, that's the fountain of youth.
Towards the Big Bang, yeah.
You can get to where the Big Bang happened, get to that other universe, and start getting younger.
Okay.
And just keep doing it.
Okay. Mike, we got about 3 minutes. Take this time to talk about your books, where people can find your books, give your website addresses again, and how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. You can find all the books, MikeRicksecker.com. The latest book was Alaska's Mysterious Triangle. The one that we started off with was A Walk in the Shadows, but I have several others on different paranormal encounters and activity. I also have 2 mystery novels, by the way.
Oh, nice.
That's at MikeRicksecker.com. We mentioned Connected Universe Portal, which is the online learning platform, and then you can find all the information on the Shadow Dimension docuseries at shadowdimension.com.
Yeah, I'm on the website right now, and I'm going through your blog page, and I would love to do a whole hour with you just on Egypt, because Egypt is so fascinating and spiritual, and there's so much to it. But man, brother, there's only one little conflict I have right now.
What?
This is the first guest that we've ever had that sounds way sexier than we do.
Yeah, his microphone is awesome.
I don't know how to handle this. I feel a little uncomfortable.
It's the microphone. Yeah.
You know? No, hey, when he first got on, I was like, okay, first thing we're saying here is that one hell of a sexy microphone you got there, brother. That's what we do. We notice those things. We don't notice haircuts. We don't notice like any of the important stuff. We notice microphones. Don't worry about it.
It's Rocky.
It's all right.
It's all right. You have to give him a break.
I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous that you're in love with my microphone.
Yeah.
He said it's Rocky. You got to just give him a little
So, Mike,
break.
I'm looking at your website, MikeRicksecker.com, and you've got tours and you've got several, looks like, lined up. Do people can pay to go with you on these tours all over the world? Absolutely.
Yeah. The one that's coming up here in very end of June, beginning of July. It's July 1 through 9, but you got to get on a plane, of course, the day beforehand. That's to Ireland. We're going to be visiting a lot of the wonderful old castles like Blarney Castle. We're doing an investigation at Leap Castle. Going to Spike Island, which is like the Alcatraz of Ireland. So we still have some tickets available. So if you want to join us, please do so, because we're getting down to the wire here. But you can still make it. It's pretty affordable too.
He's going to Leap Castle.
Yeah, Leap is amazing.
What is that? Someplace you would like to go?
I would love to
absolutely.
Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Come join us, Rocky. Come join us. We'd love you. And then in February, we're going back to Egypt, Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. So we're specifically, focusing on those Stargates. But we're going to get time, of course, in the Great Pyramid, all the wonderful temples like Abydos. We're going to visit the Osirian, Dendara. So a lot of wonderful locations.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Ricksecker is our guest tonight. Mike, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you on again in the future. I
want to go to castles.
I just want to go to Ireland too. So we'll look into that as well, brother.
Man, brother, thank you so much, man. Super grateful for your time.
Stick around with us, Mike. We'll be right back with you after the show is over. God, Ireland, dude, I want to go to Ireland so bad. I've never been to Ireland.
It's their whole belief. Like, talk to Barry Fitzgerald, and they talk about the fairy folk, and they talk about all this different types of stuff. I mean, we got so much to talk about.
I'm going to spend like 2 hours tonight just perusing all of his websites.
Yep.
MikeRicksecker.com. It's ConnectedUniverse.com or ConnectedUniversePortal.com. Guys, all of the links are in our description. Go out there and check it out. Thank you for joining us tonight. We got another great guest tomorrow night. Take us home.
Man, we love you guys. Thank you so much for being here at AbnormalRealities.com, OdysyRadio.com. Until tomorrow night, folks. Peace.
Peace.